Hello, and welcome to Afrofuturism, a universe of science fiction and Black heritage. It is a movement pinpointed by cosmic characters, funky music, and otherworldly genres. Afrofuturism is defined as a movement in literature, music, art, and other media featuring futuristic or science fiction themes which incorporate elements of Black history or culture.
The term was first coined by Mark Derry in his essay Black to the Future in 1993 and was explored in the late 1990s through conversations led by scholar Alondra Nelson. Despite not being coined until 1993, scholars tend to agree that Afrofuturistic music, art, and text became more common and widespread in the late 1950s. The movement is often traced back to jazz composer and philosopher Sun Ra, who, in college in the 1930s, had a hallucinatory experience in which he was abducted, brought to the planet Saturn, and shown a prophetic future.
Some of the main elements of the Afrofuturistic movement stems from science fiction, historical fiction, fantasy, Afrocentricity, magic realism, and non-Western beliefs. It is often regarded as a cultural genre, reimagining African traditions that project techno-futuristic possibilities. The movement has been heavily influenced by the struggles for Black rights, political influence, and identity.
Sun Ra had a large role in the progressive development of the movement because he saw his own music as a key element in the education and liberation of African Americans. He was one of the early pioneers of the movement and prided himself on living an Afrofuturist lifestyle, embodying it in not only his music, but also his clothes and actions. However, by the 1960s, he started expressing disillusionment towards the aims of the movement and found himself not relating to any race in particular. He stated that, "I used to be interested in saving black people, but then he realized that all people were just puppets and pawns of some greater force, which has been using them. Some force is having a good time manipulating black and white people, and looking, enjoying itself up in a reserved seat, wondering, I wonder when they're going to wake up."
The Gilda story's connection to Afrofuturism is evident in the recurring themes of feminism and alienation, as well as its blend of both the fantasy and science fiction genre. The alienation of African Americans is reflected in the 1890 public's hasty assumption of Gilda's socio-economic class based on her race and clothing. Gilda's telepathic ability revealed disapproval of both her well-traveled clothes and her dark skin. This alienation continues throughout the novel as the vampiric society must remove themselves from the mortal world.
As for feminism, Gilda and several other characters struggle with the negative connotations and expectations that come with being a woman in the 19th century and early 20th century. Gilda was comfortable returning to the guise of boyhood that had cloaked her during her travels west, releasing her from the pretenses and constrictions of womanhood. In addition to this, the lesbian preferences of Gilda, Bird, and others made acceptance into society even more difficult. Furthermore, the genres of fantasy and science fiction are prevalent through the otherworldly monsters of vampires, current age technology synonymous with FaceTime, and in the year 2050, the painting of a dystopian future. This concludes our presentation on Afrofuturism and leads us to our discussion questions.
Thanks for listening.